Okay, guys, so we'll start the session. So we have already discussed till 1905. So from here in this session, we will be discussing from 1905 to 1947. So let's quickly look into the important areas in the next 30 minutes. Okay, so we will start with Partition of Bengal, 1905, and then we will go with all the important topics. Then we'll discuss about the Swadeshi movement connected with that. We will also see the Surat Split. Okay, and then the first phase of militant nationalism you will see during this phase, 1908. And then we will discuss about Khadar Party, the developments which is actually happening during the First World War. So Khadar Party, that is where you will actually discuss about the second phase of militant nationalism. So there are four different phases. There's a second phase, and then a third will be coming in 1920s, this HRA, HSRA, and then in the central part of India, like Bhagat Singh and all, and then eastern part of India, Bengal, we will discuss Surya Sen. Fourth phase is when that is related to INA, okay, and this RIN mutiny. So these are the four different phases of militant nationalism that we will cover. And then connected to this World War, we will also discuss about Home Rule League, then Lucknow Pact, formation of Muslim League. Okay, then in between 1909, that Minto Morley Reforms, then Montagu-Chelmsford Reform of 1919, the Government of India Act 1919. Then we will also discuss about Gandhi, arrival of Gandhi. Gandhi in South Africa also quickly I'll see. So arrival of Gandhi, very important. They can ask you questions. Okay, and then non-cooperation movement, then civil disobedience movement, the roundtable conferences, the Irwin Pact, Nehru Report. Okay, and all those things we can cover. That 1935 Government of India Act is very important. Maybe 1937 election, and then the war, Second World War. And then we will go in that order: August of Cripps mission, then the Wavell plan, the Cabinet Mission plan, and the Mountbatten plan. In between, we can try to cover INA and the RIN mutiny also, INA trial as well. Okay. So this is what we will do, but not everything. Just as a revision, we have already discussed everything in the class. So this is going to be the revision. The Partition of Bengal, that's very important. They can ask you question, right? So Partition of Bengal, who notified the Partition of Bengal? Curson, and the next Governor General actually implemented it. So that is very important. And what is the reason that they have discussed? They have discussed the reason that administrative convenience and all, but that's not actually the case. Let's not get into the details. The real reason is Bengal was the nerve center of nationalist activity, and they want to they want to discourage that. They don't want to encourage that. So they wanted to partition Bengal to reduce that impact of nationalist movement. Okay, so that is actually the main reason. And Bengal was partitioned on linguistic as well as religious line. So linguistic means they don't want in any of that part the Bengali speaking population should be the majority. So if you see the Bengal partitioned into Bengal and then East Bengal. It's not East Bengal and West Bengal. West Bengal is now the Bengal and East Bengal. So if you see Bengal, here not more than 50% is going to speak Bengali. There is Odia, there is other language as well, right? Hindi is there. So Bengali is not majority. That means 50% is more than 50% is not there. On the other hand, if you see in the western side, if you go, Assamese is there. So again, Bengali language is not a majority. So that is very important. It is not only on religious line, it is linguistic as well as religious line. That is a very important point. Okay. So Bengali speaking population should not be a majority. That is the main idea. And East Bengal, the Muslim landed elites are going to get a lot of advantage because of this. Because even though Hindus are also there, but Muslim landed elites, they are going to get advantage because they can now contest election, and those people who have this land wealth and paying taxes only will be contesting election, and they will also vote. So they can get into the council and everything. So the Muslim landed elites were actually in support of this. Okay, this is also very important. And later we will discuss about the Shimla deputation. There we will discuss the Muslim landed elites actually offered a written formal support for the partition of Bengal, and that eventually led to the formation of Muslim League later. So that we will discuss. So Muslim landed elites were actually in support of this. So 1905, this plan is there from 1903, 1905, despite Congress opposition, government notified partition of Bengal. What is the activity of the moderates? As usual, there's a moderate phase, right? So the prayers, petition, that strategy. But the other side, extremists, they don't want to go with this. They want to start a movement against this. when we are talking about extremist, it is the involvement of masses. It is not about violence. That is militant nationalism. So here they want to involve the masses, but initially Congress was not ready. But then under the pressure of extremists, they have decided to go with the involvement of masses. Okay, so this is the significance actually. Extremists were able to pressurize the moderates, the Congress leaders, to involve masses. And you can see the movement against the partition of Bengal. This is actually the first mass movement which is organized by Congress. So it is not Gandhi who came and organized the first mass movement. It is this which is the first mass movement. Okay, so that is also one of the significance of this. Now, what is the method? It is just like a boycott of goods, okay, promotion of Swadeshi and indigenous goods, street plays, public speeches, volunteer samitis. This is what they actually did. So this is the first mass struggle. And then Rabindranath Tagore wrote this Amar Sonar Bangla that became the national anthem for Bangladesh later. So it was actually not successful, right? So the extremists wanted to extend the movement beyond Bengal. So if you confine it to Bengal, then it is not going to give any impact. So they want to extend this movement. So this differences is coming up within Congress, mainly between extremist and moderate. One group want to take it outside Bengal. The moderates, they don't want to take it outside Bengal because they are expecting an intense British crackdown. If you extend this, then Britishers may not sit silently like the way they do now. So they don't want that to happen. So they are actually against this. And 1906 Calcutta session, very important. Dadabhai Nauroji, who was the presiding officer, and he wanted to bridge the gap between the two. So they managed to arrive at a compromise between the moderates and extremists. So here they have decided that the Congress will argue for Swaraj. Remember, it is not Purna Swaraj, it is Swaraj. So the first time the Swaraj resolution will be passed here. So Swaraj means white colonies. Okay, so some kind of autonomy, some kind of self-rule within their setup. So like the white colonies, like Australia, like that, Australia, New Zealand, and all. Okay, so the one demand or which was actually accepted in that session was Swaraj. And then there is no discussion on extending this movement further beyond Bengal. So that was actually kept silent. And then in 1907, actually extremists wanted Tilak to be the leader, presiding officer, so that can give a call for extension of this movement. But the Congress session was actually kept purposely in Surat. So you know that, right? Surat is actually, if Tilak is from Bombay, so you know if the session is in that city, the presiding officer cannot be from that city. So that restriction is there. So Tilak, it was actually kept purposely so that Tilak will not become the leader. And before the session, Congress actually got some promise from the British that they will try to do something for the devolution of power after some time. So moderates are actually not interested in extending this movement beyond Bengal. So what happened that led to Surat Split and 1907 famous Surat Split. Okay, and because of that, actually the movement got weakened. Tilak was arrested and all those things were there. So Aurobindo Ghosh actually retired from politics. Lala Lajpat Rai went to England. So the movement got weakened. Now later, when we discuss about 1911 Delhi Darbar, two important things are there. Partition of Bengal will be called off. Okay, one. And then capital was shifted from Calcutta to Delhi. So these are two important points in Delhi Darbar. Why now they called off partition of Bengal? Because their intention was to prevent that nationalist activities, right? So they want to discourage that. So it actually happened. The movement actually got weakened when this extremist leaders got arrested and when they retired from politics. So I hope that is clear. So these Surat Split and the Dadabhai Nauroji Calcutta session, Swaraj. Swaraj means not Purna Swaraj, which will be in 1929 Lahore session when Jawaharlal Nehru was presiding officer. Okay, next is Shimla deputation. What is Shimla deputation? I just told you that Muslims, the landed elites, not all Muslims, were actually going to get some advantage because of this partition of Bengal. They can actually enter into the legislative councils because they can contest election, and from their community only people will vote because they are paying taxes and everything, right? So it is not based on adult suffrage. the election and everything is based on limited suffrage. So they are going to get advantage. So they want to formally support the British. That is what actually Shimla deputation. So it is an official declaration, or it is an official delegation with respect to the support from this side. So they have offered a written formal support for the partition of Bengal. So it is actually good for English as well, because now English can say there is another side also, right? So this was actually good for British. And this eventually led to formation of Muslim League and Muslim League in 1906. So Aga Khan of Dhaka, when we discuss about Muslim League. So Shimla deputation led to Muslim League. Shimla deputation is nothing but that extension of a formal support. Okay, so from the Muslim landed elites, it's a support which is offered to the British with respect to the partition of Bengal. So it also allowed the British to argue that there is another side as well. The Muslim League established in 1906. Again, Muslim landed elites, not all Muslim. Even when Congress was also established, it is mainly the elites. Later, it became a mass organization. Muslim League also, when it is established, it is landed elites. Later, it becomes a mass organization, and there will be mass movements later after Jinnah and all. Okay, but initially, when Muslim League started, they took a loyalist stand towards the British. See, 1857, after the revolt, British took a very strong stand against the Muslims. There are a lot of Muslim leaders who actually actively participated, like Maulvi Ahmadullah, Maulvi Pir Ali. So they consider, and Wahhabi movement was very strong, which was much more organized than the 1857 revolt. And British suffered a lot because of that. And because of that, actually, the British wanted to treat, or they treated Muslims as their number one enemy. They did not give them any benefits for related to education or government jobs or anything. But later, when it comes to Sir Syed Ahmad Khan, he is continuously requesting and telling that to the British, that is what the Aligarh school of thought. So that the Muslims are also equally loyal like the Hindus. So now Muslim League is taking a loyalist stand, following the footsteps of Aligarh school, okay, or Sir Syed Ahmad Khan. Now, after partition of Bengal, their stand will change. They will reverse their strategy. They will consider Hindus as their number one enemy, because you see, the most of the participants are obviously from Hindu, so they change their strategy. Okay, so then why they took the loyalist stand? Obviously, they are expecting some reforms for the Muslims. Okay, like at least in some advantages in education, some government jobs, etc. So this is what actually expecting. Now, the first phase of military nationalism, 1908. 1907, Surat Split, Tilak was sent to jail and all the senior leaders have gone. So some young people have left out with any leaders. They don't know what to do. So partition of Bengal, government is not calling off also. So the movement started, but nothing is actually happening. So now some sections started attacking the British, or they want to, what is their goal? This is very important. The goal is to assassinate the unpopular officials, or to strike fear among them. If you can strike fear among them or terror among them, they will recall the partition of Bengal. That is what actually the expectation. So they want to assassinate the unpopular British officials, but they were not able to do anything. So actually it was not successful. The first military nationalism, the first phase, not that successful. Even the second phase also, later when I discuss about Khadar party, we will discuss that it is again not successful, because their intention was to create a mutiny among the Indian soldiers who were stationed abroad. But that they couldn't do, because the plan got leaked and the British actually passed this Defense of India Act and they got brutally suppressed. So the first military nationalism phase, goal is not achieved. What was the goal? Assassinate unpopular British officials and to strike fear and terror so that partition of Bengal may be called off. So that was actually the expectation. Then 1911, Delhi Darbar. Before there was a Delhi Darbar we discussed, that is 1877 Delhi Darbar. The controversy also discussed because it was during the time of famine, Lord Lytton's time. And then I've told you famine commission, Richard Strachey, who was appointed by Lytton, and then the code was drafted under Ripon. That is also very important. So this is the second Delhi Darbar. There the Delhi Darbar is to welcome Queen Victoria, and she was given a title Empress of India. Okay, Caesar of India. Okay, so oh yeah. 1911, what is two important points? Capital was shifted from Calcutta to Delhi. This is actually to appease Muslims, because Muslims through Shimla deputation given that unconditional support to the British. But now when they are calling it off, it is actually bad for Muslims. So uh, Delhi, if you can shift the capital to Delhi, Muslims are emotionally so much attached to that, right? Mughals and all. So that legacy and that connection. So this is basically to appease Muslims. Secondly, the most important point, partition of Bengal was called off. So that's about this Delhi Darbar 1911. Next is very important, Minto-Morley reform. I'll discuss the most important points. Other minor points you have to refer. All the constitutional developments just before the exam, refer everything, 1773 to 1947. Okay. So here, one point is in the objective itself, it is very clear that not to establish self-governing institutions in India. So the objective, see what the demand of the Congress, Swaraj, establish self-governing institutions, give self-rule like white colonies. Here the objective itself, not to establish self-governing institution. That's the reason why Congress is actually not happy with this reform. And then 1919 Government of India Act, when you see the objective, there it is very clear to establish self-governing institutions in India. So that two difference is very important. Okay, not to establish self-governing institution, 1919 to establish self-governing institutions. Now, what is most important point in the separate electorate for Muslims to meet the demand of Muslim League? So separate electorate means there is a concept of joint electorate with reservation, but this is not the case. When we talk about separate electorate, only Muslims will contest and Muslims will vote. The logic and reasons and everything we discussed before, let's not get into that. The facts is what we are looking for now. Now, first time Indians were to be in majority in the legislative council at provincial level. So provincial level, more than 50% will be Indians. So Indians are in majority. And we also discussed this point before. It is not elected Indians. When we discuss about Indians, majority means it's more than 50%. It may be 60. But out of that, 40 may be elected, 20 may be nominated. That 20 will be in favor of British because they nominated them. So this 20 will be in support of them. Only 40 Indians will stand. So still, they are not happy. So what is their demand? Their demand is elected Indians to be majority. That you will see in 1919. So here, first time, Indians are in majority, but not elected Indians. Elected Indians will come in majority, 1919 Government of India Act. Okay, then no right to vote for women, that you will see again later. Then voting rights over budget were not granted. So these are the important points. Significance and all, it's not important now. That is for mains actually, like divide and rule, right? When you're giving separate electorate for Muslims, that is a kind of divide and rule. Now 1911, 21 phase is what we need to discuss. So here, I'll discuss about Khadar Party, that militant nationalism during World War I, and then Home Rule League movement, Lucknow Pact, then Gandhi, arrival of Gandhi, and the Gandhi in South Africa, then non-cooperation movement, Khilafat question, Montagu-Chelmsford reform. These are what we need to look for. Okay, so now let's start with this World War I, right? So when World War started, the question is related to Indian troops involvement in World War I, right? So if the Congress is giving a call that Indian troops should not participate, then they may not participate and it may lead to disaster and that may affect the British interest. So here, during this time, Tilak was released from jail and they want to join the Congress again. Congress also by this time want to get support like this because Congress demands are not actually accepted, right? That Minto-Morley reforms was not that good. Elected Indians are not in majority and not to establish self-governing institutions. The Congress was also actually not happy with the reform. The devolution process, Congress was not happy. Tilak also gave number of assurances that Tilak will not go for any such kind of big mass movement or such kind of things. And Annie Besant was also part of Tilak. So they have established this Home Rule League. I'll come to that. So Tilak also promised moderates regarding the strategies that they are going to use. No mass movement, no violence like that. So they have joined again. Okay. Now the question is whether Indian troops should participate in World War I. It's not about whether they participate or not, whether we should support the Indian troops involvement in World War I. Finally, they have decided, the Home Rule League, okay, they have decided that we will support the Indian troops involvement in World War I subject to some condition. once the war got over, the British should repay the loyalty in terms of significant devolution of power. So they are supporting, but British should repay that loyalty in terms of further significant devolution of power. So this is actually the condition. Okay, and India support, yeah, they will go for devolution of power. Yeah, that's what. Okay, so this is about Home Rule League. And what is the objective of Home Rule League? It is basically to create some political consciousness amongst the masses. Now, how they do that? Through street plays, libraries, public speeches, and all those. Okay, significance. Significance we will see in mains mainly, not here. They were able to spread political consciousness and all. So militant nationalism during this phase. So this is the second phase of militant nationalism with respect to this Khadar party, right? Lala Hardayal. So who were that personalities associated with this? Lala Hardayal, Barkatullah Khan, and Sohan Singh Bakla. So in San Francisco, in USA, they have started, they started this Khadar party. And the idea is the World War going on and Indian troops, if we can instigate a mutiny in the Indian troops, which are stationed abroad, then this is actually an opportunity to throw them back militarily. So Ghadar party, their objective is to create a mutiny or instigate a mutiny in the Indian troops who were stationed abroad, and then militarily overthrow British. So this is actually a second phase of militant nationalism, and openly, without any problem, they have started this in USA, because at that time US was not part of the war. But then later, when US joined, then they have suffered. Okay, so that time this Lala Hardayal went to Germany. In between, this incident is also very important, Komagata Maru incident. What is this Komagata Maru incident? For that, there is one law, right? Continuous Passage Act. What is Continuous Passage Act? It is actually to prevent the Asian migrants. Okay, under the British pressure only they have passed this act. So if you are migrating, you have to go in one single go. Okay, so directly you have to travel from origin to destination. That means you have to reach there in one single go. There should not be any stop in between. That is one condition. Secondly, when you're migrating, the potential migrant should have adequate financial capacity. So what will happen is, even if you struggle a lot and you go to there in one go, but still they can claim that you don't have a financial stability. So this is what actually happened in the Komagata Maru incident. So around 320 Indian migrants, they went from Hong Kong port to Vancouver port, right? So around 320 Indians was there, 55-day uninterrupted journey. So the first condition was met, but they were not allowed to disembark there. They were not allowed to enter there because they have not met the second condition, and they were forced to return to India. And when they came to India and when they reached the Calcutta port, they requested the British to interfere in this, but they did not do that. And there were police firing, and around 22 people officially killed in this. So there is an very strong anti-British sentiment because of this, especially in Punjab, right? So this Ghadar party want to capitalize on this, and they have created this as an issue. Komagata Maru actually taken as an issue, and that strong British sentiment, and they wanted to instigate mutiny. But the plan got leaked, and what British did is they have passed an act, Defense of India Act, okay, the year 1915, Defense of India Act. So under which many soldiers were hanged and many soldiers were imprisoned, and the plan got suppressed. Okay, so that's how this militant nationalism was also not that successful. The first one, they wanted to assassinate the British official, they couldn't do that. Here they want to instigate the mutiny, that again they couldn't do. But what about the significance? It failed. Significance we don't want to discuss now. Then there is something called a Zimmermann plan. What is Zimmermann plan? It is nothing but Lala Hardayal went to Germany once US joined the war, and then there he met Zimmermann. Okay, so he's actually the foreign secretary of Germany, and Zimmermann actually assured Lala Hardayal that we will provide the financial assistance. You go with your plan. What is the plan? Plan is to instigate the mutiny among the Indian soldiers who were stationed abroad. But the Zimmermann or the Germany will provide the financial assistance because Germany was against the British that time. Okay, so this is what Zimmermann plan. Home Rule League, anyway, I've discussed already. So Now, what is the main difference between Home Rule League and Khadar Party? Both are happening at the same time. One is part of militant nationalism, the other is not. One related to violence, the other not. One is a mass movement. Which one? Home Rule, mass movement. After partition of Bengal, there is a second mass movement, okay, which is coming. Khadar Party is not a mass movement, and no violence in Home Rule or no force. On the other hand, there is a force, right? So, and Khadar Party did not support the Indian troops' involvement in war, but Home Rule League supported Indian troops' involvement in war. Okay. Then demanded devolution of power. Later, when we discuss about Second World War, this is very important point. Mahatma Gandhi offered an unconditional support because Gandhi was against this fascist ideas. So unconditional support to the British. Remember this. Subhash Chandra Bose, no, what he wanted to do this, he wanted to capitalize the situation and he wanted to use this in our own advantage to send them back, overthrow them. So both were, Gandhi was unconditional support. Subhash Chandra Bose want to use this as an opportunity. Jawaharlal Nehru, neither want to use this as an opportunity nor offered support. Okay, so these three, just remember. Here, they offered support, but there should be significant devolution of power immediately after that. Significance, the biggest mass movement organized till now, before it was partition of Bengal. Okay, Annie Besant everywhere, Tilak in Maharashtra and Karnataka. George Arundale was the organizing secretary. Okay, now in 1920, Gandhi accepted the presidency of Home Rule League and then the name changed to Swarajya Sabha. Okay. Now Tilak and Besant effort to reunify Congress, and then 1916 there is a Lucknow session. So this is actually reunification of Congress. Moderates and extremists united. Tilak gave number of assurances. Okay, so that means there is no mass movement or violence to overthrow British rule. What is Lucknow Pact? It is also known as Tilak Jinnah Pact. This is very important because now, before I told you, a Muslim League have taken a loyalist stand. But here, from Lucknow Pact onwards, Muslim League and Congress together take an anti-imperialist stand. Why there is a change in their approach? Because the generation has changed. Now Jinnah, leaders like Jinnah is coming. And they also understood in the long-term interest of Muslims, it is always better to take an anti-imperialist stand. Okay. And there was a demand for this Aligarh University, before was a Sir Mohammedan Anglo-Oriental College, something like that. They wanted to convert this to university and they have requested a lot, but it was not done. Later, it was done in 1922 during that time. But that was also actually one of the reason. Okay, Mohammedan Anglo-Oriental College. One of the demand was to convert this into university. Later, it converted to Aligarh University, but at this point of time, no. So that is also one of the reasons. And long-term interest of Muslim, it is better to take an anti-imperialist stand. Then there is a generational change that is also very important. Then they are angry with the partition of Bengal calling off also. So these were actually the reasons. So Muslims were dissatisfied with British. So they jointly took the anti-imperialist stand. That is the importance of Lucknow Pact. Okay. Congress was ready to join with Muslim League. Why? Because Congress also don't want to remain as a Hindu organization. They want to tell that Congress is not against the aspirations of Muslims. Even Congress also have a lot of Muslim leaders as well. Okay, but Hindu Mahasabha was not actually support of this. They criticize this joining. Okay. Next is then next is within this very important point, Congress recognized the Muslim League position on separate electorate. Congress don't want separate electorate. Congress don't like separate electorate, but Congress is now recognizing the Muslim League position on separate electorate. That means Muslim League needs separate electorate, so Congress is okay with that. Otherwise, Congress is in the interest of joint electorate with reservation. Okay, but now Muslim League want that, so Muslim League position on separate electorate they respect. So that is also one of the position. Joint anti-imperialist demands. What are they? Significant devolution of power to abolish to establish self-governing institution in India. So it should happen immediately after the war. Viceroy Executive Council must have Indian representative. Elected Indians must be in majority. Before, Indians were in majority, but not elected Indians. Now they're demanding it very specifically. Okay. Now, arrival of Gandhi. So when we discuss about Congress, there is a moderate phase and extremist phase. Mahatma Gandhi also moderate phase and extremist phase is there. So initially he was writing these petitions, prayers and all, but then he realized that that is not going to work out. So he went for mass movement, even in South Africa. And that experience is what actually helped Mahatma Gandhi here. So when he came to India, he never went with his moderate phase. He started involvement of masses right from the beginning, because he understood that you cannot violently overthrow them. You cannot keep on writing petitions also to them. So mass movement is what actually required. Okay, so there are two phases for Mahatma Gandhi in South Africa also, moderate phase and extremist phase, just like Congress. Okay. Now, one more point. In South Africa was also a colony like India. Now, there are three categories of people. Indian traders. One of the trader to represent him only, Mahatma Gandhi went there. This Mehman brothers, okay, and then indentured laborers. They are working in the plantation and mining, very low wage, very poor health condition, and hazardous working condition and everything. Indentured laborers and migrant settlers. These indentured laborers, they are contract laborers. They are going there for a certain period. After that, either they can settle there or they can come back to India. So when they settle there, that's what migrant settlers. Okay, so these are the three category. Indians, three category: Indian traders, indentured laborers, those who settled, migrant settlers. Okay, the settlement related issues there that I'll take up later. Poll tax issue. So first issue was related to racial discrimination, whites, English, and colored Indians, black, native. So for them, footpath, toilet, and everything is different. Gandhi wrote a lot of letters, but that was not taken into consideration. And then 1899, there was a Boer War. And in that war, it is actually the South African native tribes against the English. But Mahatma Gandhi offered a support to the British and offered a lot of help also during this war. But again, there was of no use. So what Mahatma Gandhi understood is, with this, you cannot violently overthrow them. That is very difficult. At the same time, prayers and petition also not going to work out. So mass movement is very important. Now comes the extremist phase of Mahatma Gandhi, 1904 to 14, that period of time. So three issues have been picked up. One was related to compulsory carrying of registration certificate by Indian migrant. It is like insulting Indian migrants, right? You need to carry the compulsory license all the point of time. Then imposition of poll tax, invalidation of marriage, which does not happen according to the Christian customs. So these three issues have been picked up. So what happened? First one, Mahatma Gandhi, with respect to the compulsory carrying of registration certificate, he himself burned his own certificate, and automatically this rule was lifted. So with the involvement of masses and supporters. Okay. Secondly, this poll tax, that is also an issue which has been picked up by Mahatma Gandhi. There were two provinces. That's where you can settle down after your contract period is over: Natal and Transversal. So the migrant workers or the indentured laborers can settle down here. But they have imposed a tax. In case if you're settling down, you have to pay this tax. It was £3, which is a very huge amount for the workers at that point of time. Why it is done? To discourage them to settle down there. Okay. So if you suppose you settle down in Natal, and again, if you need to migrate to Transversal, again, you need to pay this. So this was not considered good by Mahatma Gandhi. He took this as an issue, and he again protested with the involvement of masses. So he migrated from Natal to Transversal, okay, without paying tax. The government ultimately withdrew the poll tax. So you just need to know what is poll tax. You just need to know the three kind of Indians, okay, and you just need to know the three issues that Gandhi have picked up. Third is related to the marriages which has happened, not according to the Christian customs, invalidation of marriages. So even in India also, a lot of protest is going on related to that. Gandhi took this as an issue, and finally this was also withdrawn. Okay. Now, when he come to India, what is the first one? Champaran Satyagraha. Last year, the question was asked, and indigo cultivation. It's a forced indigo cultivation, okay, in Champaran. So this Tinkatiya system, 3 by 20th. Now, why they don't want to cultivate? Because that time German synthetic dyes are coming. So there is the price of very much decreased, and it is not viable for them to cultivate indigo. And they were forced to cultivate. So that is actually the issue here. And then Mahatma Gandhi came here with the supporters, and the DM actually issued a prohibitory order. So he violated that prohibitory order, and he came here. He visited all these peasants, and he prepared a report and he submitted to the government. Now, he defied the government order. Forget about that. He also asked the masses or the peasants not to pay tax. Okay, so that is why this is actually considered as the first civil disobedience movement. You are asking masses to violate the law. So violation of law, civil disobedience. So here you are asking, you are supposed to pay tax, but you're asking the masses not to pay tax. That is why Champaran, civil disobedience movement. Okay. And finally, what happened? British government was forced to appoint a committee to look into these concerns and recommended the abolition of Tinkatiya system. And remember, over a period of Tinkatiya system came to an end immediately, but indigo cultivation in the next 10 years, over a decade, it came to an end. Not immediately. So if you get an option, indigo cultivation came to an end immediately, no. Tinkatiya system came to an end immediately, yes. Okay. And 25% of money taken are compensated by the planters to peasants. So it led to abandonment of Tinkatiya system, indigo cultivation. Over the next decade, it came to an end. Not immediate end. Okay. So here, breaking the law, civil disobedience movement. This is the first civil disobedience movement of Mahatma Gandhi in India. Next is Kheda Satyagraha. So the issue is actually, you are legally entitled not to pay tax in case if you are affected by famine or low production, etc. So legally you are entitled not to pay tax. But the British actually demanding you to pay tax. So Mahatma Gandhi came, or actually Mahatma Gandhi was a symbolic head here. I think the other people were the leaders, Sardar Patel. Okay, different other people were there. Gandhi was a spiritual or symbolic leader only here. But here they gave a call not to pay tax again. Before also not to pay tax, here also not to pay tax. But before it is violation of law, here it is not violation of law. So here it is not civil disobedience movement. Here it is a non-cooperation movement. So this is the first non-cooperation movement. Why it is not a violation of law? Because you are legally entitled not to pay tax if you are facing production problem and famine problem. So already you are legally entitled not to pay tax, but you are not cooperating with the illegal demand of the British. So it is non-cooperation movement, first non-cooperation movement of Mahatma Gandhi. Okay, so Kheda Satyagraha, first non-cooperation movement. Then Ahmedabad mill strike, 1918. So after the World War I, the plague bonus was withdrawn. And see, this is against Indian capitalists, not the British capitalists. Actually, Indian capitalists during World War I, they have made huge profit, but the wages or the salaries of the workers, they have not increased it. So they demanded 1/3 of wage hike. And Indian capitalists, after Gandhi's intervention, were ready to give up to 20%, but they were not happy with that. So Mahatma Gandhi went for a hunger strike. So this is the first hunger strike. Champaran, first civil disobedience, CC. Kheda, first non-cooperation. Ahmedabad mill strike against Indian capitalists, the first hunger strike. Initially, the demand was 33%, but they offered 20. After that, Gandhi went for a strike, and then they accepted, and finally 33%. Spectrum, it is written as 35, but it doesn't matter. 1/3, it is 33 or 35. They won't give option both. Okay. Lucknow session we discussed. Khilafat question. Okay. Okay, now Montagu-Chelmsford reform we'll discuss, and then Rowlatt Act. Montagu-Chelmsford reform is the carrot. Rowlatt Act is the stick, carrot and stick policy. So Montagu-Chelmsford reform, the objective, I've already made it very clear. Here the objective is to establish self-governing institutions in India. Okay. Now, what are the changes proposed? The changes proposed at the provincial level, they have introduced diarchy. Diarchy means rule of two at the same level. Rule of two at different level. That is federalism. That is what we have now. rule of two at the same level, like in your state, if there is rule of two by one by governor and one by chief minister, that is what diarchy. So here it is diarchy. So elected Indians, they form ministry, that is there. They make laws on some aspects, but governor will make laws and related things for the important area. So there is a transferred list and there is a reserve list, right? And the reserve list is actually with the governor. Governor is actually appointed by the viceroy. So transferred list, the elected ministers can make law, but that is not the significant items. Reserve list, that's where budget, taxation, law and order and everything is coming. So this is actually angered and annoyed the nationalist. So even though some kind of autonomy is given, elected Indians are in majority here, but this was not actually good. Even though elected Indians are in majority, but still most important items are with the governor because of diarchy. So diarchy means rule of two at the same level. Federalism, rule of two at different level. Okay. Introduction of diarchy. Now, second is women got the right to vote here. First time. Okay. But it is again not universal, not adult franchise, limited franchise only. Separate electorate continued for Muslim and it extended also. Okay. Extended to Sikh, Anglo-Indians, Christians, etc. Separate electorate were extended. Later, Pune Pact, that time it will be extended to the, or 1935 Government of India Act, when we discuss, we'll discuss that it extended to the scheduled caste of the Dalits as well. And provincial level, elected Indians to be in majority. We've discussed this point already. Direct election introduced. High Commissioners for India appointed. Office in London. What 6 years? Looking after Indian trade in Europe. Okay, just read that from Spectrum. Congress rejected this. Why? Because they were not happy with the diarchy. Previous one, Congress rejected because they wanted elected Indians to be in majority. Here they were not happy because of diarchy provision. Because you are in majority but no power. Okay, Secretary of State will be paid from British Exchequer. Secretary of State means initially Board of Control in Pitt's India Act, but after 1857 Board of Control was abolished and Secretary of State post was created with an office known as Indian Council Office with 15 members. Okay, and till then the salary was paid from Indian Exchequer, but it will be paid from, because this is one of the Congress demand for a long period of time. It's like foreign minister. So pay salary from the British Exchequer. So that is also there. And separated central and provincial budgets. Okay, what is Rowlatt Act now? It is an another name is Anarchical and Revolutionary Crimes Act. Okay, Sidney Rowlatt is the person who was responsible for this. So basically to suppress the anti-government policies or the activities at this point of time. So police could imprison any individual suspected of indulging in any anti-government activities without a warrant. So the question of habeas corpus is no more there. Police can arrest and imprison even without a doubt if they suspect anyone. So that is going to be very draconian act, right? So Rowlatt Act. And people protested, and this martial law was actually enforced in Punjab, Amritsar. And on the day of Baisakhi, people actually assembled to, assembled in Amritsar. Actually, people were discussing about this issue of Saifuddin Kichlu, who was actually imprisoned when he opposed this Rowlatt Act. People assembled to talk about this in Jallianwala Bagh, and General Dyer issued a fire order, and that led to around 400 individuals were killed officially. Much more is the actual case. Tagore gave up his knighthood as a protest against this. Okay. There is no question of habeas corpus here, no court of appeal also. A secret trial will be done with 3 high court judges. Okay. So this is basically to replace that wartime. First war, 1915 Defense of India Act we discussed. So this is basically to replace that one with a, that was applicable to the army, but this is going to be applicable to everyone like that. Okay. So as a protest, a lot of protesters, their elected Indian members resigned, like Jinnah, Malavia, etc. Those minor facts, if possible, remember. And then there is a commission which is appointed to look into the police excesses. That is what Hundar Commission. Before 1882, there was a Hundar Commission for education, primary education to be the priority. Here, Hundar Commission, it is also known as Disorders Inquiry Committee. Rowlatt Act, another name, Anarchical and Revolutionary Crimes Act. Hundar Commission, Disorders Inquiry Committee. So to appointed to look into the police excesses. Okay, later, Irwin Pact also, this was a question last year they've asked. Again, police excesses, there should be inquiry, but they did not allow that. Okay, and then actually this committee have found no fact on General Dyer, but later anyway he was dismissed from service. Nor this committee have found any excessive use of force also, because they always try to support the police anyway. And then Non-Cooperation Movement was launched in 1921. Which session of Congress? 1920 Nagpur session adopted resolution promoting the Non-Cooperation Movement. So Congress decided to reorganize the provincial Congress committees in linguistic line so that more and more people will get engaged. Okay, so like Bombay province, if you see, there are mainly two languages, right? Marathi and Gujarati. So that is why linguistic division also, on the linguistic line also, they have decided to reorganize the provincial committees. So Congress would now argue for self-rule and would resort to extra constitutional means. This is very important. So what is the difference between self-rule before, the Swaraj before and Swaraj now? Swaraj before, not extra constitutional mean, only constitutional means. Here Mahatma Gandhi came and mass movement is what you are looking for now. So now 1921 non-cooperation movement, you will go for Swaraj, self-rule, but stick to extra constitutional means as well. Here when I talk about extra constitutional means involvement of masses. Okay, then non-cooperation movement, so far the largest movement. One more interesting fact, because you go with extra constitutional mean, Jinnah, Annie Besant, BC Pal, Kharpade, they left Congress. Why? They believe in only constitutional means. Interestingly, Jinnah also. Okay, so very important. So there's an extra constitutional mass movement, but peaceful, only legitimate means, no violence. Okay. Throughout India, boycott of foreign goods, promotion of Swadeshi, Indian schools were started. Okay, Khadi was promoted. All these were the activities. But Congress did not give a call for non-payment of taxes here. That you will see later. But in the beginning, there is no call for non-payment of taxes. But even after some time, this is not going to be successful. They've realized that. So Congress threatened the British that we are going to give a call for non-payment of tax. Not now, after some time. So here there is no question of non-payment of tax. That's why it is non-cooperation. You're not cooperating. You're not breaking any law. This is not civil disobedience. Okay, so masters cannot go for a long time and there is no result. People have resigned from jobs and things are getting very difficult, right? So Congress under Gandhi's leadership actually threatened to launch a civil disobedience movement, including non-payment of taxes. Okay, so and some of the other demands as well. Political prisoners need to be released. Press control should be again released, like that. You need to remove the press control. These demands are also there. If these are not satisfied, Congress threatened that they will launch the civil disobedience movement. So you are now expecting a confrontation between British and India. So there may be if you launch the civil disobedience movement, their economic interest will get hurt, right, very badly. So there may be a possibility of British crackdown. Now, during this time, this Chauri Chaura incident is actually happening. I'm not explaining what is it, you know that. So Chauri Chaura and Gandhi ultimately withdrew this movement. One is he is against non-violence versus against the principle. So one thing. Secondly, already they were planning to launch a civil disobedience movement or non-payment of tax call and all. So they were expecting a British crackdown. So British could take this as an opportunity. They can say that the law and order situation is gone. So they can use force, okay, to suppress the movement. So this was also one of the reasons. That's why actually Gandhi recalled the movement. Firstly, violence, he is not happy with it. Secondly, masses cannot strive for long. Thirdly, they are afraid of an intense British crackdown with the use of force, especially after Chauri Chaura. Okay. They can brutally and mercilessly can do that easily, just taking that as an excuse. But younger Congress members were actually not happy. Jawaharlal Nehru, Subhash Chandra Bose, they consider it as a Himalayan blunder, okay, and was equivalent to snatching defeat from the jaws of victory. Then Gandhi was sentenced to jail. That's a different. Now comes the debate between Swarajist and no changes. Then there is a phase of militant nationalism here, and then roundtable conferences, civil disobedience movement, and all those things is what we need to discuss now. And Nehru report, Jinnah proposals, Gandhi's demands, Hindu Mahasabha demands, all these we will quickly see. So what is this debate, Swarajist and no changes? See, already 1919 election, Congress did not participate. Remember, I just forgot to mention that 1919 election, Congress did not participate because they were not happy, right? Now it's the beginning of 1922. Elections are due on 24. So the question is whether you need to participate in the election, upcoming election or not. So Swarajist, who are they? Supported by C.R. Das, Motilal Nehru, etc. They were in support of contesting election. They wanted to enter into that system, and then you can protest from there. Mend or end approach. Okay, you can raise the questions there, and then you can oppose that bills or anything which is coming there. And in fact, they were able to do that successfully. They were able to prevent this defeated public safety bill which came in 1928, which was actually against Indians. Okay, so Congress must contest the upcoming election. That is the stand of Swarajist. No changes like Rajendra Prasad, Vallabhbhai Patel, Rajagopalachari, M.A. Ansari, they were of the opinion that no. If you try to contest election, you will be losing a lot of focus and attention, your energy, and that energy you can use for some constructive activities. Do some social work, enlarge your social base, prepare the masses for a better movement, and all these things are actually what the no changes are looking for. Okay, you should focus your energy not on contesting election, but for a social, you create a social base. That's more important. So Swarajist, they wanted to enter into the house and raise voice. Okay, and then they argued that it would also boost the morale of the masses. All these things we have read already before. The work of legislative council would be obstructed if the demands of Indians were not addressed. That means mend or end approach. Vallabhbhai Patel elected as the speaker in 1925. First time Indian was elected as the speaker. Okay, but the failure is like they failed to support the peasant. So actually Gandhi gave a nod for Congress to contest election finally, and then C.R. Das, he established Congress Khilafat Swaraj Party, C.R. Das and Motilal Nehru, and they contested 1924 election. Which is the session where Mahatma Gandhi presided Congress? Belgaum session, 1924. Okay, so in this session, they actually agreed to work under the Congress. Then comes militant nationalism, third phase. First was 1908, after partition of Bengal, after the Surat Split. Second was Khadar Party during First World War. Both were not successful. Third one, somewhat successful. Fourth one is much better. INA, RIN mutiny, etc. So here again, two, militant nationalism in North India, HRA. Later it will be renamed to HSRA. Militant nationalism in Bengal. 1924, Sachin Sanyal. There is a dissatisfaction with the methods of Congress and leadership. People are not happy with the calling off of partition of Bengal. So this HRA was established in North India. So again, here also they aim to perform individual heroic actions. Objective of overthrowing of British through use of force. Here also the objective is the same. And their journal, Revolutionary. Kakori train robbery, 1925, you know that. Ram Prasad Bismal, Rajendra Lahiri, Ashfaqullah Khan, all were hanged. Later, 1927-28 time, it was grouped into HSRA. Socialism was added. There is an ideological rethinking. That is a main question. Let's address it later. Bhagat Singh and all, they wanted social freedom as well, not only political freedom. If you send them back, you will get political freedom, but you need social freedom, you need economic freedom. So that you need to do land reforms, you need to do a lot of, socialist kind of activities that we will discuss later in mains. Okay. 1926, Bhagat Singh formed Punjab Navjivan Bharat Sabha. Okay. And then 1927 Anti-Simon Commission protest. What is Simon Commission? I'll discuss next. Anti-Simon Commission protest. Lala Lajpat Rai killed by a police officer, Peter Saunders, and Bhagat Singh and HSRA decided to assassinate him as a revenge. And they threw a sound bomb also in the council when two bills were discussing. What were the two bills? One was Trade Dispute Act and the other is Public Safety Bill. Just before I've told you, they were able to defeat, the Swarajists were able to defeat which bill? Public Safety Bill. So Trade Dispute Act, just go through this. What is Trade Dispute Act? They have asked these questions. Trade Dispute Act and Public Safety Bill. Trade Dispute Act is basically to prohibit organization of strike in industries. It is actually against the strike. Public Safety Bill aimed to put some restrictions on assembly of people. Okay. So rather than hiding, they did not hide. They surrendered. Okay. And that's it. Then militant nationalism in Bengal, Surya Sen, Kalpana Datta, Beena Das, Pritilata Vadedar, Sunidhi Chanderi, a lot of women militants participated. That's what more the highlight of this. Okay, Surya Sen was hanged. Kalpana Datta, chief co-planner actually. Beena Das shot the DM of Bengal. Pritilata Vadedar shot the vice chancellor of university. Anand Singh, Ganesh Ghosh, Loknath Bol, many are there. Okay, and then Chittagong Armory raid. Okay, under Indian Republican Army, 65 members. So they raided. Policemen, DM were shot. Railway lines were uprooted. Like this, they have asked questions. Railway lines uprooted, and then destroyed telephones, telegraph lines. Autonomous provincial government was established. Okay, unfurled the national flag unfurled, raising. A lot of women militant participated. What is Simon Commission? Simon Commission actually arrived to discuss devolution of power, right? See, after every 10 years, they want to go for devolution of power. So now 1919, now it's around 8 years. You need more reform now. So 1927, the Simon Commission was appointed to look into the future devolution of power. The problem is only English. There is no Indian presence in that commission. So actually Congress was against it and the protest was there. That protest is what just before I have discussed. Lajpat Rai got killed in that protest, and say revenge we discussed. Okay. So what British government did is when Congress protested, British said, okay, do one thing, you come up with a plan, but it should be applicable to princely states, Muslim League and Hindu Mahasabha. British very clearly know that if it is applicable to Muslim League, not applicable to Hindu Mahasabha, or if it is applicable to Hindu Mahasabha, not will be applicable to Muslim League. So that is why they have given this challenge. Congress have taken it and they have appointed Motilal Nehru to draft a plan. So that is what going to be Nehru report. Okay. So we'll discuss Nehru report, but before that, we'll also discuss about Jinnah's proposals, or it is also known as Delhi proposal. There's a demand of Muslim League for 4 proposals by Jinnah, because Jinnah also expected that we can demand along with Congress. That will be better. Okay, so before I've told you Congress don't prefer separate electorate, they prefer joint electorate. So Muslim League also said Muslim League will accept Congress position on separate electorate if other demands of Muslim League are met. So Muslim League said, okay, we are going for a joint electorate with reservation. That is what the position of Congress. But the demand of Muslim League should be met. What are they? 1/3 reservation for Muslim in central provinces. Muslims must be granted reservation in areas where they are in majority also. The logic and reason I've told before. Okay, if they are, so it doesn't mean that majority are there, but that doesn't mean that they will get elected, because not all are having the right to vote. So if you count 60 Muslims and 40 Hindus, out of those maybe 20 Muslims are able to vote and 30 Hindus may be able to vote. So that Hindus can vote, even though they are minority, they can win. So that's why Muslims demand reservation in Muslim majority area also. Okay, creation of new provinces, separation of Sindh from Bombay, separation of NWFP from Punjab. Then the next one, residuary power to be given to provinces. These are the 4 demands. You know that. Then Hindu Mahasabha also came up with some demands exactly opposite to Muslim League. They said Hindus must be given reservation where they are in minority. No creation of separate provinces like Sindh and NWFP. Residuary power should be with center. Muslim League says creation of new province. Hindu Mahasabha, no creation of new province. Muslim League say residuary power to the province. Here they say with the center. Now let's see what Nehru report is. So first is which session? Calcutta session, 1928. Okay. First is dominion status on the lines of white colonies like Australia, New Zealand, etc. That means not complete independence. Even now also they are not demanding complete independence. But they have given, we are producing this, you have to take a call on this. Within 1 year, we will go for a Purna Swaraj call. Okay. And that's when 1929 Lahore session, Purna Swaraj resolution will be passed when Jawaharlal Nehru was a presiding officer. Actually, this dominion status was actually opposed by younger generation of Congress even at this point of time. Younger generation means Bose and Nehru, etc. Federal structure, that is the second provision. Okay. And then secularism would be a feature of state policy, very important point. 19 fundamental rights. Joint electorate with reservation for minority. But Muslim League said, we are ready for this, but other conditions need to be met. But here, they are going for joint electorate, but other conditions have not met. Rejected the demand for new provinces in the NWFP. So Muslim League is not going to support this for sure. Residuary power with the center. Muslim League wanted it with the state. Rejected Muslim League demand for reservation in Muslim majority area. So everything is actually rejected. So what happened? It is not applicable. It is not acceptable to Muslim League. So government rejected it. What is the condition? It should be applicable to all. Okay. So then what happened? Jinnah withdrawn the Delhi proposals and went back to their earlier position on the separate electorate. Significance and all we don't want to discuss now. Then later Nehru and Subhash Nehru report failed to build the consensus within Muslim League and Hindu Mahasabha. So British rejected it. So now Congress would demand for independence because they have made it very clear within 1 year, this has to be taken into consideration, but no. So in 1929, they have gone for Purna Swaraj resolution, Lahore session. Jawaharlal Nehru was elected as the youngest president of Congress. Purna Swaraj resolution, that is a complete independence was passed. Okay. And December 29, it was the session, 1930, Jan 26 to be celebrated as Indian Independence Day. You know this, all these things. Now Gandhi's 11 demands. So Muslim League not accepted by Congress. Congress not accepted by Muslim League and British. Now Gandhi's 11 demands. So Simon Commission is not, report is not happy. Congress is not happy with Simon Commission. Nehru report, government is not happy. So in this context, 11 demands. Some are general in nature. Some are specific to peasants. Some are for the capitalist also. And then comes the civil disobedience movement later. So what are the 11 demands? Reduction in expenditure on army, will go fast, okay? Lift the restriction on press, removal of restriction on carrying firearms, okay? Release the political prisoners, reforms in CID, introduce total prohibition. These are some general. What about peasants? Decrease land revenue demands, strengthening of tenant rights. What about capitalist, supporting capitalist? Rupee sterling exchange rate to be adjusted. Coastal shipping must be reserved for Indians. Increase in custom duty on imported textile goods. Increase in custom duty means that it is to support the Indian capitalist. And then abolition of salt tax. So they have imposed tax on salt for self-consumption as well as for commercial purpose. So self-consumption is like very draconian, right? So Mahatma Gandhi took this as an issue. He have not taken present issue because zamindars may not support, capitalist issue because workers may not support. Salt is something which is common to all and everybody will support. So Gandhi have taken this as an issue because there is no socially divisive impact. Everybody will come forward. So Gandhi's 11 demands were rejected by Congress. So March, April, during that time, he started this march, Sabarmati Ashram, Gujarat to coastal regions of Dandi. And Gandhi wrote a letter to government that he is going to break the law, but government ignored the letter because they are wait and watch policy. And it was a 1 month journey, got a lot of support throughout the journey. Gandhi went to the coast and took some salt. It's a symbolic protest, right? Symbolic challenge to the might of British Empire. Gandhi was arrested, but similar salt satyagrahas were launched in different parts of the country. Just remember those names also. Rajagopalachari in Madras, Tanjore coast, Patel in Gujarat, Darasna, Sarojini Naidu, Khan Abdul Ghaffar Khan, NWFP. Okay. And then this Khudai Khidmatgars, that organization was started on one political monthly, Pakhtun, started by Khan Abdul Ghaffar Khan. Boycott of foreign goods, picketing of foreign liquor shops, promotion of Swadeshi, gave a call for no tax campaign also. That's why there's a civil disobedience movement. Previously, that's not the case. They gave a call for no tax campaign. That means salt tax don't pay, land tax don't pay. That means breaking of law. That's why civil disobedience movement. Okay. Malabar K. Kelappan, Vaikam Satyagraha. Significance and all we can ignore. Now, by far the biggest mass movement. Now let's look into the roundtable conferences. First one, why roundtable conference? To discuss further devolution of power. They want everybody to come together to discuss it. But first roundtable conference, Congress did not participate. Why? Because government have already told that the brief plan is ready, Simon Commission, and you can discuss upon that. But Congress was already rejected that, so Congress did not participate in this discussion. So first session, Congress did not participate. Last also, Congress did not participate. Only in the second, Congress participated. Because basic structure is the same as that of Simon Commission. You can only give suggestion. Okay, so Congress boycotted. Who participated? Muslim League, Hindu Mahasabha, princely states, Ambedkar, they participated. Second roundtable conference, actually Lord Irwin wanted Congress participation because if Congress is not there, that is not considered good for them. So they went for talks with Mahatma Gandhi and finally they have signed this pact. That's what Gandhi-Irwin Pact. Let's not get into the details, but I'll tell the important points. What is Gandhi-Irwin Pact? All political prisoners imprisoned during the civil disobedience movement should be released. Yes, they accepted. Second, all lands confiscated but not yet sold to the third party should be returned back if it is for non-payment of tax. Yes, accepted. Third, Gandhi and Congress forced the British to remove salt tax on salt manufactured for self-consumption. Yes, that is also accepted. Congress demanded for commutation of death sentence of Bhagat Singh to life imprisonment. Not accepted. Demand for inquiry into police excess against civil disobedience movement. Not accepted. This was the question, right? Lenient treatment to government servants who were resigned during this time. Withdrawal of emergency provision ordinance. These are some of the demands which is during this. Okay. Criticism, Gandhi was not that much interested related to Bhagat Singh case and all. That is the criticism. But even if Gandhi argue for it, they are not going to do anything because that was a challenge against the mighty British Empire. And they were not ready to make any compromise when you're throwing the bomb in the Legislative Assembly. That they are not going to forgive anyway. Secondly, Gandhi was also against this violence. But that's not important here. So Gandhi-Irwin Pact was signed. Congress agreed to participate in the second roundtable conference in London. So this is the first time Viceroy is signing a pact with Indian. That means Congress got that political mileage. Now in Karachi session 1931, it got endorsed. The Gandhi-Irwin Pact got endorsed and a resolution was passed on fundamental right. Okay. Purna Swaraj goal was reiterated. National Economic Program launched. Okay. The National Economic Program under that land revenue demand must be reduced. Wages of workers in industries must be increased. So this was actually an official go-ahead for participation of Congress in roundtable conference, second roundtable conference. Karachi resolution also adopted a resolution praising the bravery and self-sacrifice of Indian military nationalists like Bhagat Singh, Rajguru and all. Now, in second roundtable conference, what happened? This is the only roundtable conference where Congress was present. So Congress, Hindu Mahasabha, Muslim League, Ambedkar, princely states. Congress was represented by Mahatma Gandhi. But Ambedkar demanded separate electorate here. But Gandhi was actually against this because he thought that it will create further division among the Hindus on the lines of caste. Already there is a communal division which is on the basis of religion. And then this is the communal award. British granted separate electorate to backward caste, accepting Ambedkar position. Communal award of 1932. Gandhi went for hunger strike, fast and to death in which jail? Yeravada jail, right? In Pune. So Ambedkar came there and signed this pact and ultimately withdrew that. So communal award was called off. Okay, but Congress, it was the civil disobedience movement which was started was in halt because of Gandhi-Irwin talk and second roundtable conference. They want to resume that, but then that momentum was gone. Third roundtable conference, Ambedkar, Muslim League, Hindu Mahasabha, princely states all participated. not Congress. On the basis of this, 1935 Government of India Act was passed. So what is that 1935 Government of India Act? One of the most important devolution of power, significant devolution of power at the provincial level. So what happened? Provincial level, they've granted complete autonomy. That means that diarchy have taken away. The complete autonomy. Now ministers who are elected, they will enjoy all power. They can do everything. Diarchy was taken away. But this diarchy was introduced at the center. That means something which is done by governors at the provinces now will be done by viceroy. The reserve list is with the viceroy. And then the ministers, they will deal with the transfer list. So diarchy was at the center now. Okay, provincial level, complete autonomy. Correct now, Arya? Central level diarchy. In a federation, 3 list, then joint sitting, bicameral legislature to 6 provinces, federal court, and then federal and provincial public service commission. Okay, so federal structure like central list, state list, concurrent list, everything is known. Princely states would be allowed to preserve their autonomy. This question was asked before. There was a Butler committee which was appointed in 1927 to look at the viewpoint of princely states, and they demanded to preserve their autonomy under British rule. So that provision is also there. Recommendation from Butler committee. Bicameral legislature at the central level. Separate electorate continued and given to the depressed class now. Impact I'm not discussing. Election prelims choikila. Okay. Now, in 1939 Tripuri session, Bose was contesting election and Bose won the election. Let's leave those things. Then the World War started. Okay. So 1939 to 45, now war. 1939 to 42, predominantly Axis powers emerging victorious. And in that itself, the first 9 months, Germany annexed France, Belgium, and Holland. So Germany was capturing every area. So they are winning during this time, right? And then Japan came to all the French colonies in Asia, and which was actually taken over because French was annexed anyway by Germany. So Japan was with Germany. So all the French colonies now under the custody of Japan, including Colombia, Cambodia, Laos, okay, Vietnam, that area, Indochina region. So Japan managed to capture Korea, eastern part of China, etc. So because of this only, there are some problems which is going to happen. So that is the reason why this August offer came. Initially, initially these 1939, there is a Varda session. So in that, Congress Working Committee actually adopted a resolution that the Congress would support the involvement of British Indian troops in World War II if the conditions are met. What are the conditions? Immediate substantial devolution of power even before the troops getting involved in war. But that's not the case with World War I. Only after war gets over, we need devolution of power. But here, if the troops need to get involved, we need devolution of power. Secondly, after the war got over, British would establish a constituent assembly to transfer power to Indians. So I've told you before, Gandhi offered unconditional support to English because he's against fascist idea. Subhash wanted to take the advantage of this crisis. Nehru, no Indian support. Okay, at the same time, not to take advantage also. This was the stand. Now, August offer. When August offer came, 1939, this started. 1940, by August, in the first 9 months, Germany was able to capture all those areas. Japan is attacking Japan is also capturing the French colonies here. So that threat is there, right? An imminent Japanese invasion is there. So they wanted the support of Indians. So come with August offer. What is August offer? I'll quickly discuss. Firstly, Dominion status was offered. But Congress was not happy with Dominion status. That was the demand much before. Now we need Purna Swaraj. So Dominion status, the first one. Second, no future constitution would be adopted without the consent of minorities. So this is to appease the Muslim League and the minorities. Third, expansion of Viceroy's Executive Council. Or next one, to set up a constituent assembly composed mainly of Indians. This is August offer. In the Cripps mission, it will be solely of Indians, only Indians. Here, mainly Indians. So Dominion status, then one related to minority, then expansion of Executive Council, then Constituent Assembly, mainly Indians. But Congress rejected this because dominion status, no. So rejection of August offer led to individual satyagraha. So who are the individual satyagrahis? First is Vinoba Bhave, then Nehru, as a protest, symbolic protest. They don't want to give a mass movement now because that will put them in trouble. But they want to show the protest. So individual satyagraha. Then comes Cripps Mission in 1942. British colonial position in Burma were threatened by Japanese invasion. So they wanted Indian support. So Cripps Mission. So here, just before I've told you, mainly of Indians, Constituent Assembly. Here, Constituent Assembly solely, only of Indians. It will be partly elected and partly nominated, but only Indians. Dominion status continued. Then next is very important here. That's why this was also rejected. Those provinces which do not want to join the Indian Union could form a union of their own. That means there is a right to secede. The princely states who don't want to join with India, they can go away. But Nehru said this will lead to balkanization of the country, and he rejected the Cripps Mission also. Rejection of Cripps Mission led to Quit India movement. Okay, 1942, Congress Working Committee met at Varda again, and then Quit India movement. So first, August offer failure led to individual satyagraha. Cripps Mission failure led to Quit India movement. So 1942 launched the Quit India movement from Bombay. Gandhi was declared as the leader, gave a call, do or die. It's a violent movement. Okay. Violent movement, large scale movement, huge participation. All the major leaders were arrested on the next day, but secondary leaders, it was mainly under secondary leaders like Aruna Asaf Ali, Sujeta Kripalani, Usha Mehta, etc. Communists did not participate. That is very important. Muslim League opposed, did not participate. Hindu Mahasabha also boycotted. Communist, why? Because they are with Russia. Russia is with British. Okay, so they don't want to threaten British at this juncture. So communists did not participate. Muslim League also, Hindu Mahasabha also. Otherwise, huge participation is there. Spontaneous upsurge of masses, violent movement. Martial law was not applied, but severe repression was there. Okay. A lot of underground activities. Aruna Asaf Ali presided Congress session and hoisted the flag also. Liquor shops picketed, boycott, all this common thing. By far the largest movement. Huge women contribution. Then INA. INA RIN mutiny. This INA RIN mutiny actually shook the foundation of the British. Now, during 1945, the US have joined along. By this time, 1942 onwards, US have joined, and under US pressure, they again wanted to talk to Indians. They want the support of Indians. So comes the Wavell Plan. So Wavell Plan to explore further possibility with respect to Indian support. First provision of Wavell Plan, dominion status. Wavell Plan in 1945. Cripps Mission, 1942. August offer, 1940. World War started 1939. After 9 months, August offer, 1940. 1942, Cripps Mission. 1940, August offer failure led to individual satyagraha. Cripps Mission failure, Quit India. Now, Wavell Plan. Dominion status continued. Second, except the post of Viceroy and Commander-in-Chief, all other positions would be devolved to Indians. After the war, a Constituent Assembly would be set up. Okay, same, which was discussed already. Equal representation for Hindus and Muslims in Constituent Assembly. This created problem here. Muslims started demanding that Muslim participation should come from Muslim League only. Then it will be a problem for Congress, right? Because Congress will become a Hindu party that they don't want. Because many Muslim leaders are there, Maulana Abdul Kalam Azad and all, many major Muslim leaders are there with the Congress actually. So that is why it led to breakdown. So Wavell announced the breakdown of talks because of that provision. And then Muslim League adopted a more radical and irreconcilable set of demands. Later in Pakistan Day resolution was passed in 1940. Okay, that is before. So that is about Wavell Plan. And then INA trial, mainly these three, Guru Bakshak Singh Dhillon, Shah Nawaz Khan, Prem Sehgal, and then INA week, INA day celebrated, then RIN mutiny. These are very important for mains, not for prelims much. Because of INA and because of RIN mutiny, it shook the very foundation because their army is against them, the navy is also against them. Okay, what is this RIN mutiny? Number of naval ratings stationed at Bombay port, they revolted against British. The reasons are discrimination and all those things only. They are also motivated because of the respect that the INA people got. Okay, and Indian flag was hosted on HMIS Talwar, the ship. They curved Quit India on HMIS Talwar, and this movement soon got spread across all the ports as well and killed a lot of British officials, and that shook the very foundation of British. That's the reason why Cabinet Mission Plan was sent. It is not because of Congress, not because of Bose, not because of Mahatma Gandhi or Nehru or anyone. Because of these INA and RIN mutiny, their foundation was shook. So they sent this. So Cabinet Mission Plan. What is that? There's a 3-member committee: A.V. Alexander, Patrick Lawrence, Stafford Cripps. Cripps, the same Cripps. So first time British rejected the Muslim League demand for separate Pakistan. Till now they were silent, but here they were made it very clear that is not possible. Because the reason is, you may be a majority, Muslims may be a majority, but Hindus are again huge in number. Your majority means you're just 52% your majority, but 48% are in Hindu. If you see the Northwest region. East India, if you see, around 40% is non-Muslim. So huge non-Muslim population is there. So separate Pakistan is not accepted by British for the first time. But Mountbatten plan, it will change, but now no acceptance. Cabinet Mission proposed a 3-state formula. What is the first category? Muslim majority area in the Northwest, then Muslim majority area in the eastern part, then rest of the area. They divide like that. So they will sit separately, they will make their own constitution, and then they will sit together. All the 3 will sit together, and they will make provisions for common center. There need to be a common center, defense, foreign policy, communication, etc. So 3 groups: Northwest, eastern part, and the rest of the area sit separately. They make their own constitution, and they sit together and make constitution for center. Dominion status continued. Okay, the talk failed because of the interpretation of this grouping. Nehru and Congress thought that this is voluntary, not compulsory, but the other side thought it is compulsory, and that is the reason why it got failed. And then 1946 election. And then 1947, Clement Attlee said, immediately by the end of 1948, we will devolve power to one or more centers. Okay, so deadline was given, and Indian political parties must reach a consensus before then, failing which British would devolve the power to one or more center. And then 1946 election was there. Muslim League actually joined the interim government. Liaquat Ali Khan was the second in command of Muslim League. Jinnah did not join the ministry. Liaquat Ali Khan became the finance minister, but he did not allow anything. He did not grant the funds. So even Congress also came to that conclusion that separation is better. Okay. Then Clement Attlee appointed the Mountbatten as viceroy, appointed Mountbatten as the viceroy to speed up devolution of process. He came with Cyril Redcliffe. He was a cartographer for aerial surveys, and in case of partition is required, we need to be very well prepared. Provisional assemblies in the Northwest and Eastern region, and Hindu and Muslim members of provincial assemblies would sit separately and vote. And if more than 50% in favor of Pakistan or partition, there will be partition. Then Mountbatten emphasized the need of partition with maximum unity. These are very simple points, where the provinces in Northwest and Eastern region would have the option of joining either Pakistan or India, Northwest and Eastern region. The independence of princely states like Hyderabad and all ruled out. They can't get independence. But that was there in which one? Cripps mission, right to secede. But that is ruled out now. That's not possible. Similarly, Hyderabad accession to Pakistan was ruled out because administrative convenience. Okay. West and East should be decided by Redcliffe. Then the partition. 1947, August 14, Pakistan proclaimed Independence Day. First Governor General, Muhammad Ali Jinnah. Then 15 August, India independence. The Governor General will be Mountbatten. First Governor General is Mountbatten. First Governor General of independent India is also Mountbatten. And India became a part of Commonwealth nation. Commonwealth nation means erstwhile British colony, but refused to accept Queen as the symbolic head. 1947 to 50 continued to be a British dominion, and the first Governor General was Mountbatten. Then 1950 Constituent Assembly came up with fresh constitution, and then that's it. So that's it. We'll stop here. See you. Do well for the exam. Okay, guys.